You hit arms every week. Curls, push-downs, hammer curls, skull crushers. You walk out of the gym with a solid pump, sleeves feeling tighter, feeling like the session was productive. But then weeks go by. You catch a photo at the beach or a glimpse in the mirror before heading out, and the honest reaction is, where's the size? There's something there, but barely. No real density, no shape that actually stands out, no arm that turns heads. And the frustrating part is that it doesn't feel like a lack of effort. The workouts are happening. The discipline is there. So why aren't the arms responding? The answer is almost never effort. The answer is almost always a collection of small, quiet mistakes that don't announce themselves. They just silently drain your progress while you continue grinding. The flaws are in the execution, the angles, the volume management, and the mindset around arm training. None of them are dramatic. All of them matter. 8 mistakes. Each one specific, each one fixable. And fixing even one of them can unlock a level of arm development that months of hard training hasn't been able to produce. Stay through the end. The last mistake is the most common among experienced lifters, and it's the one that quietly keeps arms flat for years. Mistake 1. Ignoring the eccentric phase. Picture a typical set of curls. The weight goes up explosively and then drops back down fast. Gravity does most of the work on the way down, and the lifter is already thinking about the next rep. That fast, uncontrolled descent is one of the most costly mistakes in arm training, and it's everywhere. The lowering phase of any movement, called the eccentric, is where a significant portion of muscle damage and growth stimulus actually occurs. Research suggests up to 70% of the hypertrophy signal comes from the eccentric portion of the rep. If you're skipping that by letting the weight drop quickly, more than half of each rep's growth potential is going to waste. This mistake is actually more common in experienced lifters than in beginners. As training progresses, the instinct is to lift heavier, feel stronger, and move more weight. Control gradually gives way to momentum, and the eccentric gets shorter and shorter without anyone consciously deciding to cut it. The fix is straightforward but humbling. Drop the weight by 10 to 20% and lower every rep with a 2 to 3 second count. Feel the muscle working on the way down. That controlled resistance is where the real stimulus lives. The pump will feel different, deeper, more sustained, and within a few weeks, the density and fullness that's been missing will start appearing. If this is already connecting the dots on why your arms haven't been responding, hit the like button and subscribe. More content like this is coming, and the next mistake is one of the most visually obvious. Yet, almost no one fixes it. Mistake 2. Cutting your range of motion short. Half reps feel like real reps in the moment. The weight is moving, the muscle is working, the pump is building. But consistently training through a shortened range of motion builds a muscle that looks incomplete. Peaky in one section, flat in another, never quite filling out the way it should. The deep stretch position of any exercise is where a disproportionate amount of fiber activation and growth stimulus happens. When you cut the bottom of a curl short or stop a triceps extension before reaching the deep stretch, those fibers in the stretched position simply don't get the signal they need to develop. Over time, that creates the classic partial look. Some size, but no complete shape. Short range of motion also creates joint problems. Repeatedly loading a small portion of the movement causes certain areas to be chronically overloaded, while others are undertrained, which leads to overuse injuries and compensations that eventually show up as nagging pain. The fix is to reduce the weight enough that every rep can be owned completely. All the way down to near full extension on curls, all the way to the deep stretch on triceps movements, then back up to a hard contraction at the top. Film yourself from the side if there's any uncertainty. A full rep has a clear start, middle, and end. Anything else is leaving growth on the table. Mistake 3. Training arms like they're just one muscle. Most arm sessions consist of a few curl variations and a few push-down variations. That covers the general territory, but it misses the fact that the arms are made up of multiple distinct muscles, each with different functions, different strength curves, and different responses to exercise selection. The biceps has 2 heads with slightly different optimal training angles. The triceps has 3 heads, and the long head, the one responsible for the full, thick appearance from the side, is only fully targeted when the arm is raised overhead. The brachialis, tucked underneath the biceps, adds width and thickness that curls alone won't fully develop. When training treats all of this as a single block of muscle hit by the same 2 movements every session, certain areas inevitably stay underdeveloped. This is why some lifters have arms that are strong but look unfinished. One part shows, another part stays flat. It's not a genetics problem, it's a targeting problem. The solution is to look at what's actually missing and train to address it. Flat from the side on the triceps means the long head needs more overhead work. No thickness at the base of the bicep means incline curls to get more stretch through the lower fibers. Every arm session should be built around what's underdeveloped, not just what feels good to train. Mistake 4. Letting shoulders and forearms take over. This is the stealth mistake. You finish an arm session, forearms are pumped, shoulders are fatigued, but the biceps and triceps barely registered. The workout felt hard, the effort was real, but the target muscles weren't the ones doing most of the work. The body is naturally efficient at finding the path of least resistance. The moment form slips, elbows drifting forward on pushdowns, wrists swinging at the start of a curl, shoulders rolling into the movement, the smaller stabilizing muscles get recruited to compensate. Forearms take over curls, shoulders take over triceps work. The result is a genuinely tiring workout that doesn't actually build the muscles it's supposed to build. The fix is precision over weight. Every curl starts with elbows pinned to the sides, shoulders pulled back and down, wrists neutral. Every triceps movement starts with elbows fixed in place and no body swing. When those compensation patterns are eliminated, the target muscle has to do the work, and that's when the growth signal becomes clean and direct. This also dramatically reduces elbow and shoulder joint stress, which is where most chronic arm training pain originates. Mistake 5. Training with the wrong volume. 2 extremes both produce the same result. Stalled arms. Training arms once a week with 3 exercises sends a signal that's too weak and infrequent to drive consistent adaptation. But training with 10 to 12 exercises in a single session overwhelms recovery capacity, which means quality crashes, strength drops, and soreness lingers so long that the next session can't be effective either. The right volume is enough to create a strong enough stimulus without exceeding what the body can recover from. For most people, that means a focused number of working sets, not a marathon session, done with genuine intensity and proper execution. 2 arm-focused sessions per week tends to work well for most lifters, though individual recovery capacity varies. The clearest signals for calibration. If soreness from a session is gone within 2 to 3 days and quality in the next session is high, the volume is in a good range. If arms feel wrecked for a week, pull back. If arms never feel challenged or sore, add a set or 2. The principle is consistent. Enough stimulation to force adaptation, not so much that recovery becomes the limiting factor. Less volume done with more intention almost always outperforms high volume done with mediocre execution. Mistake 6. Doing the same exercises in the same order every single week. Consistency is valuable. Monotony is a plateau. When every arm session runs in exactly the same order, with the same exercises, the same rep ranges, and the same rest periods week after week, the body adapts and stops growing from it. The pump still comes, which creates the illusion of productive training, but the pump is a circulatory response, not a growth indicator. The muscle already knows what's coming and has already adapted to handle it. Breaking this pattern doesn't require a completely new program. Small, strategic variations are enough to force the muscle to relearn and respond. Change the order of exercises, adjust the grip angle, modify the tempo, slower negatives, a pause at peak contraction, a hold at the bottom stretch. Adjust rest periods between sets. Move arm training to a different day of the week when recovery patterns are different. Any variation that makes the session feel unfamiliar to the muscle is doing the job. The body adapts to predictable stimuli. When the workout becomes unpredictable, adaptation, which means growth, is forced to continue. Mistake 7. No real progression. Effort without progression is the most common reason arms stay stuck long-term. The session feels good, the pump is real, the effort is genuine. But if the weights, reps, and execution haven't changed in months, the body has no reason to change either. Progression doesn't always mean adding weight to the bar. That's one form, but not the only one. Progression can be an extra rep with the same load. A slower eccentric on the same weight. One less second of rest between sets. A harder contraction held at the peak for a full count instead of a half second. Any variable that makes the set more demanding than it was last time is progression. The key habit is tracking. Write down what was done. Weight, reps, tempo, rest. Then try to beat it in some measurable way the next session. When training is tracked and intentional, results stop being unpredictable and start directly reflecting strategy. Without any form of progression, the body stays exactly where it already is. Growth requires a reason to change, and that reason has to come from the training itself. Mistake 8. Treating arm training as a low priority. This mistake doesn't show up in form or programming. It shows up in how seriously arm training is actually approached. Most people who say they want bigger arms train them as an afterthought. A few sets tacked onto the end of a chest or back session, squeezed in when energy is already spent, given whatever focus is left over after the real training is done. The results match the priority level. Arms that are never the focus of a session, never planned with the same attention to volume, angle, and progression as bigger muscle groups, will always lag. The genetics argument doesn't hold up. Most arms that stay stubbornly small simply haven't been trained with genuine intentionality. The shift is straightforward. Treat arm training like it actually matters. Give it a dedicated session, or at minimum, a dedicated block at the start of a day when energy and focus are at their peak. Plan the volume and exercise selection in advance. Track the progression. Approach it with the same seriousness as any other muscle group. When that mindset shift happens, the arms respond at a completely different rate. 8 mistakes, each one small enough to be invisible in the moment, but significant enough to quietly hold arms back for years. The rushed reps, the short range, the muscle confusion, the compensation patterns, the wrong volume, the predictable routine, the absent progression, the low priority. None of them require starting over. Pick one that resonated, address it with intention in the next session, and pay attention to how differently the muscle responds. More tension, more genuine soreness in the right place, more fullness, and over time, more visible growth that actually reflects the effort being put in. What was the idea that made the most sense to you? Drop it in the comments. If this kind of content makes sense to you, Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel.